Alright, so we have one more big job to do before we can say that we are just about ready for the road. And we're going to get ready to swap out the axles. So the axle that I purchased when I first started building the trailer was a 2,000 pound axle. And the trailer is just about that weight now, so it doesn't leave room for any payload. So we're going to beef that axle up to a 3,500 pound and get ready to install that. Then we've got room for at least 500 or 600 pounds of payload, which I don't think we're going to put that much in the trailer. So let me give you a shot of the axle that we're going to put on, and then we'll talk about how we're going to get ready to install it. So this is our new axle. It arrived here a couple days ago, and it's a little beefier model than the one that's under the trailer now. And as you can tell, it is a 3,500 pound axle. So torsion axle, hubs are already installed, bearing buddies, which look like it took a little bit of a beating in the shipping, so we'll probably replace this one and call that good. And when I ordered it set at 22 degrees down, but this one is just a little bit off, which I think I'm going to match the other side to this side, so we're just a few clicks off. So that is what we are going to install in the trailer. So now let me show you how we're going to do it. So currently we have about 5 or 6 jack stands supporting the trailer. We are freewheeling here, and so what we're going to do is remove the wheel. Then we're going to remove our access plate behind the wheel to get to our bolts, and then we'll drop the axle down. We'll put a couple of jacks under the axle, loosen up the bolts, rest it on the axle or on the jack stands, and then we'll bring it down to the ground, slide it out, and then reverse the procedure to put on the new one. That is going to be a little bit of fun, and yeah. So when I started building the trailer on the inside and I started designing the wheel wells, if you remember I think video 3 or 4, somewhere in there where I started building the wheel wells, I left some notches when I was framing that wheel well, and that gave me access to the bolts. So I had the foresight to say, hey, you know, if I ever decide to change the axle out, or if it breaks and I have to replace it, how am I going to get it out of there? So I created those little areas where the bolts drop down through the axle, through the floor to the axle, and I can bolt it up. So we're going to get access into that and remove those bolts, and hopefully the axle comes out real easy and the new one installs just as easy. Coming from the factory, they all have the same dimensions, so it should be just a matter of taking off the old one, putting up the new one, bolting it in place, getting all of our bolts, nuts, and everything torqued down just the right specs, and then we can reinstall our wheels, take the jacks out from under the trailer, and be on the road again. So that's what we're going to do. So our next step is to remove the wheels and get access to our bolts, put our jack stands under there, and do it. So stay tuned. So step 1, taking the tires off. Now that the wheel is off, now we've got to get access to our bolts under here. So I'm going to take all these screws off. We'll take off our panel, and then we'll be able to take off our bolts, put our jack stands under here, and drop this axle. Now that we have the wheels off and we've got our access plate to our bolts, now we'll take our wrench and loosen up our axle. And we've got the stands under here to support that. We'll drop it down, and once it's totally free from the frame, we'll go ahead and drop that down and drag it out. On each side we have a little spot weld, so we're going to take a grinder We're just going to touch that, break it free, and then our axle will drop down. We are ready. Okay, so we have our axle out from under the trailer, and starting to look like we can get something done here. So I've got the bottoms clean. Now what I need to do is punch in some 5/8 inch holes and then drop in our bolts, slide in our axle, lift it up in place, start our bolts, and then we'll get everything squared up to the tongue. That way it tracks straight before we tighten it down. Alright, so we got the new axle in place, run our bolts through, and right now we've just got everything just kind of resting on the nuts. Before we tighten it down, now we've got to square it up. So we're going to have Jack, he's going to hold the tape right here in the center of the tongue. And we're going to go back. I would measure to the center of this hub, but it's a little smashed from the transit. So we're going to go center of the axle right here, and we are looking at 120 inches and 1/8. So 120 and 1/8 inch. Now we'll do the same to the other side to make sure we got the same measurement. Alright, sure. Jack's gonna get that centered, and then we're gonna, you ready?
Yep.
And then we're gonna pull our tape tight, pull to the center. Are you sure you're in the same spot?
Yeah. Maybe, do we want to be on the outside of this?
Try it. There we go. Jeez, I thought I was way off. And we are about 120 and 3/16. Let me tap that just a hair. Yep. You ready? And
Right there.
yep, 120 and 1/8. Okay, so then I scribe my mark here at the end, so when I go to cinch things up, we keep it on our marks on both sides, and then we'll get her tight. We've got a torque wrench. We'll torque these down to about 120 to 130 foot-pounds, and then hopefully our axle's installed, and then we can make some adjustments on our spindle. Alright, so we have things cinched up. Bolts are tightened to about 120 foot-pounds. Now I need to break the bolt loose on the other side, spread this, pull it off, drop it down about 2 sprockets here, put it back on, tighten it up. And I think that nut is going to give me the fit because I can't get it loose. My air compressor isn't powerful enough to spin it, so I'm going to need a breaker bar. Okay, so the axle on, we put our panels back up, we'll get everything sealed under here. I could not break this bolt loose, so we're going to take it down to a shop tomorrow, break this loose, pull it off, spin it just a little bit, put it back on, and we'll call it good so both sides are even. We're only 2 notches off, but I want them to both be the same. So last but not least is the wheel, and for that we dropped off the old wheels here. We're going to go with something with a little more style, so let's get that on there. I thought these would look a little bit better on the trailer. Don't want to ding that up. Put our center cap in there. Set that in place. Get our lug nuts started. Alright, it's the next day. I ran out of light last night, and so this morning has been a busy morning. So to start off, the new tires and wheels that I bought, the tires were a little too short, so I took them back to the tire center, swapped them in, and got taller tires. Everything looks pretty good there. I also had to go down and get a torque wrench, so I made sure to get proper torque on all the bolts for the axle to the frame and for the tires to the hubs. So everything is installed and looking good. So let me give you a shot of that and talk about what we're going to do next, and before you know it, we'll be hitting the road. So there's the trailer with the new wheels and tires, and it's looking good. So the wind's blowing, so if you hear any wind noise, that's what it is. So anyway, we are just about ready to hit the road. New 3,500 pound axle, new wheels, new tires. So we got some new shoes under this thing, and we're ready to rock and roll. Let's see what we got on this side. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Looking good. Looking good. So what are we going to do next? Well, the last little bit of things that we have to get done is to go around and just make sure everything is sealed real nice. So around the windows on the outside, we're going to get ready to reseal those on the top and down about halfway on the sides with some silicone. Make sure that that's watertight. Also do the front window, side windows, and then we'll get on the bottom and reseal around, well, not reseal, but make sure everything is sealed around the wheel wells and around the bottom of the trailer, just in case we hit any rain or any puddles. We want to make sure to keep everything nice and dry. On the inside, we are just about ready to button everything up. I think I'm going to reinstall some hose clamps on some of my water lines and tighten up a little bit here and there on the curtains. And then I've got some straps that I need to place on the front of the microwave and the refrigerator when I'm traveling. That way the doors don't swing open and things fall out, you know, that kind of stuff. So we are almost there. All the big stuff is done. Now it's just a matter of little things, and then we can stock this thing. We've got to take it down to the DMV and make sure that we can get it registered and inspected and all that good stuff, whatever they're going to do for me. And we're going camping here in 2 weeks. So I'm excited, and it's been a long time in the making, and I'm ready to go. I sure hope you enjoyed the series so far and watching it from start to finish, and it's been a wonderful build. So looking forward to the next project. I have an idea for a design in mind, so we'll see where that goes. Until then, you should be building your own. If you haven't already got off the couch, got the materials, and started making it, you need to do it. Don't just sit around. Remember, if you get an idea and you just want to go with it, just do it, because if you don't, you know, down the road you just talk yourself out of it, and 2 or 3 years from now you're going to say, you know, I wish I would have done that. So hope you're doing it. Alright, well, thanks for watching the channel. Thank you for your comments. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I appreciate each and every one of you who have watched and commented. That means a lot. A lot of you are interested in this kind of stuff. So it's not a van build, and it's not a teardrop. So ground up 6x12. Awesome. With that, stay tuned.